Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So in today's episode, action-packed monogram episode, just wanted to quickly show you the one I did for yesterday's video. Remember the C was already pre-done by someone on this old piece of vintage linen, and all I did was come along and add the roses. I did have a blue pulled out, and I had done some little French knots where those pearls were, and they just disappeared. They did nothing. If anything, they blended with the green too much. There was just too similar of a colour. And then when I unpicked it, I thought, no, I'll put some pearls in, and I didn't bring another colour into the whole piece. I just stuck with the red roses, kept it simple, added some little buds and some little stalky bits just to sort of soften the whole thing. The little buds are just lazy daisy, and the little wagon wheels here, 5 spokes, and then wrap around or spider web stitch. When I started looking at all the different names, there's quite a few names for that particular stitch, but I really like them because they're quite raised. You can see that's quite three-dimensional, this one up here. So, and they're so much fun. You sort of, if you go through and put your 5 spokes wherever you want one, and then you can come back and do the whole wrapping thing in the next phase. So I sort of got my flowers in position first. I roughly knew how the vine was going to tangle around. And then I think the last thing I did was the little green leaves. And I sort of focused on a section at a time. I did that bit, the bit around the bottom, then I did this little soft bit here, sort of used a little less, and then I started working the top. So yeah, it took a few hours, but it's this type of work, it's very fine and hours to do, and you feel like you haven't achieved much, but it's just something a bit different. Everything's been so chunky and bulky. It sort of brings back the memories of when we work on these cross stitches. There's just hours of work in them, but the end result is well worth it. And even that tapestry, like, I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with these 2 elements. And this little monogram certainly will go towards this project, which technically is the mannequin, but I just can't decide. So stay tuned. There's no rush. I'm not going to make any major decisions. I do have some decisions made already, so I can certainly soldier on with plenty. So the next monogram is going to be Honey Bear. And I decided that I would put a pocket on her, a little pinafore here. I did think about doing it up here, but I've got some old vintage collars, so maybe they'll come out to play later in the project. So I sort of want to keep this a little free, and I'd be ashamed to put all the work into this little top of her bodice here, the little dress, and it not be seen. So then I thought, well, down here, and I went to start getting ready for this video, and I thought, oh, a pocket will do. So I've got a bundle of antique linen here, so I thought we'd just grab a piece out of that and see what we can, use. Some of these have got a folded edge on them. Oh, hello. Aha. 2 pockets. I like that idea. Let's have a look. Oh, there's another piece there. I really like this coarse linen. It's really yummy, but this has caught my eye. Now, someone was telling me, I think it was Nikki Franklin, the UK stitchery lady, that when you find these pieces with this join, they're very, very old, because when they first started making linen for homewares, the looms were quite narrow, and as time progressed, they didn't need to join them because they got bigger looms that could give more width for tablecloths and linens. So I never knew that, and I thought that was quite interesting, and they would whip stitch it together to join it to make a bigger piece of fabric. Anyway, this is going to work a treat. So maybe it's a little bit off center. We could, yeah, I could stitch down there at that join with invisible stitch to join it, stitch around here, do a little bit of collaging at some point. I love it. So her monogram can go on one of these, and then maybe something else can be done on another one, and we'll use it as a double pocket. Oh, I like that. Okay, we're off and running. Put her little dress out of the way. Get rid of this. Well, there's something with a hole in it, is it? It's all sorts in there. There's a little pack I picked up at the retreat that I was at. I grabbed 2 little bundles of just bits and pieces. I'm starting to get low on little bits. I've got plenty in big pieces, but I don't know. Hoarding, is that an issue? I was sort of keeping it, whoops, just threw my pen, keeping it in bigger pieces. So to have little bits to grab, yeah, be nice to retop. I really need to tidy my table too, for goodness sakes. I started, but now another week has gone by and I need to just finish the job because we're onto a new project, and yeah, it'll get out of hand. Now, I was playing around with that one particular shape, which I didn't mind. So what I might do is we'll sketch it in. That should fit in that little hoop. That little hoop was perfect to work with as well. This is quite soft, so it should all work. Let's have a little look. I think I'll need all of that space. That's probably a little bit tight. So maybe we can incorporate the two. Let's get a bit of a H going. I really enjoyed doing that little monogram. We don't do enough of that, do we? Monograms are a bit of a thing of the past, aren't they? I'm just going to freehand something. I'm sure it'll change in the process of stitching anyway. At least get some lines in so that I don't lose my way. Let's see if we can get this B to look like it's meant to. Do we do it side by side or slightly above? What am I doing? I must tell you, Casper is home. Now, you guys watched the whole Casper thing last week, and I had a couple pre-recorded videos, so you wouldn't have heard boo about Casper, but as people were asking on messages from Thursday, Friday last week, I was typing back to you to say that, you know, Casper is sorted. He is home, but we end up taking him straight down to the vet, and of course, due to the time of day, we had to go to emergency, and you can imagine there was quite a hefty bill there. In Australian dollars, it was about $2,200. He was in overnight, put on a drip. He then in the morning they said he was reasonably stable, but he was very dehydrated and his back paws were very swollen. It was very unusual, right up to his, I don't know if you look at a cat's, you have the foot and then there's a joint as it goes up to their leg. He was very swollen through to that first joint, one side more than the other, and his paws were very puffy, so it just didn't look right. And I could see his fur was tenting. When you pinch it, it stands up. That meant he was very dehydrated. Considering he was in flooding drains, you'd think he'd have a sip of water, but he hadn't. And also being constipated, he had sort of a few issues. So we went straight to the vet. Well, we rang our vet and they said, look, go to emergency because we're closing. So, yeah, into emergency he went. They put him on a drip, antibiotics, stabilised him, x-rayed him because we thought the puffiness might be some broken bones, but it wasn't. The only thing we're putting that down to is he's been attempting to get out of the drain, and because he's an old boy, he's 16, he's hitting the ground again and again and again. So he's probably bruised aggravated his joints, but we don't know for sure because it's slowly subsiding, this puffiness. Even overnight it had changed a lot. Still there, one leg more so than the other still. So they kicked him out of emergency because it's too expensive to stay there just to be on a drip. And they gave him a little enema, but that didn't work. So he's now back with our vet. We've just dropped him off and he is going to get more of a clean out. So get his bowel back working, a bit more drip. And then we'll sort of assess him from there, but he should bounce back. So hopefully in the next video, I can give you even more good news. But the rescue, oh my goodness sakes. I was sitting in that drain. I was trying to get him to come to me, but he wouldn't. I now know why. His legs were puffy, so he was struggling to walk. He was getting fainter and fainter, weaker and weaker, sleepier and sleepier, so therefore he just wasn't going to move. He was only about 3 meters from me, and I could not convince him to come. Anyway, it dawned on me that one of the young kids in the street mentioned back on the Monday or Tuesday, because he was in there 3.5 days, heading into the 4th night. So on the 3rd day in the afternoon, I had a brainwave that this kid had mentioned that his remote control car had fallen down the drain and he had climbed down. Did you want me to get the cat? And I said, no, he'll never come to you. So roll forward 3.5 days and I was sitting on the couch doing some bookwork and thinking about this cat, and I'd only just come back from sitting in there for like hours trying to coax him, but he wouldn't come to food. And I thought, oh, the remote control car. So I flew out the door, knocked on the neighbours. Unfortunately, he had chucked his little remote control car, but he said young Noah up the street still had one. So I flew up to them, knocked on their door. I said, Noah, do you still have your remote control car? Yes. So a major operation ensued, and pretty much one of the young lads, the original, he put, I'll get a piece of paper here. He put the remote control, so if you've got our street, goes into a cul-de-sac. And there was a drain over here where they just sort of slip in and can drop down, but big enough for me to get into. An even bigger one here, quite deep, 2 meters. That's only about 1 meter and a bit. A little meter and a bit one's here, and then there's another one down at the end of the street. So the drainage system is like that. And then this one goes down to that one. So he was alternating between the two, and I'm sitting in here trying to get him to come to me, and there was a little connector drain. If he could easily get out of there, but this was more of a challenge, very easily get out of there. So we couldn't quite work out, why. And he's been in there before and got out, and he's probably been in there more times than we know in an evening and got out. They're locked up every night, but there's just those few hours that they're out going to their toilet, ready for bed, and sometimes they would, go gallivanting. On this particular occasion, our gates had broken, and we didn't realise they hadn't closed properly, so out he got. So anyway, it turned out Casper was sitting here all day, and I could sort of see his shadow. So the young fella got down with his remote control in here. I sat in here with my back to this hole, my legs crossed, waiting for him to come through, thinking he'd come through like a bolt of lightning. The little remote control car, let's change pens so you know the red. The little remote control car bumps into Casper, I hear him roar, and then pushes him along a little bit. I could hear him getting more and more, and then it got stopped. It stuck. Couldn't move the car. Cat was sitting on the car. So car's about the size of, A4 page. So the parents grabbed the remote control car, brought it around to me, and I think what it was is probably the distance it was transmitting was starting to get stuck. So when it come around to me, I did a bit of a forward and a reverse. Like, I haven't used a remote control car forever. So, yeah. Anyway, long story short is it got going again. I could see this blue light on the little car, so I could see him getting closer and closer, and he was like, meow, meow. Anyway, yeah, I got him. I got him. He come gently out to me, gave me a big cuddle. He wasn't feisty. He was, now we know why, he was quite doughy, obviously distressed, tired, dehydrated, all of the above. So I got him back. The great rescue. The young lad who owned the car, who said to me, he says, because I thanked him, I said to the two boys, you boys are heroes. And the little fellow who owned the car, he said, that was at the bottom of my toy box and I haven't been using it for a long time. I would like Casper to keep it, so if he gets stuck again. So they named it the Casper Mobile, the Great Rescue. And yeah, they were so sweet, these little fellas. Oh, bless them, I tell you. I wish I had thought of it earlier, because the little guy who had told me that he was happy to get down the drain for me, and I said, no, it's okay. Casper won't come to you. Yeah, he was such a sweet kid. And then when he said his little mate across the road would have one, I was like, oh, boys. So there you go. There's the great Casper rescue. Tell you what. So what I'm looking for is, I'm thinking, because she's going to be blue, I'm thinking of doing the letters in like a darker version of the dress. Where's that mood board? And we match a blue thread and do some form of little flower. So I'm thinking I need maybe even something a bit punchy, that blue. Or maybe I can go paler. Or do I mix the two? Well, we'll see. I'll grab those out. Now, I think I want to start with the flowers. I sort of need to start with a little bit of everything, and that way I know I'm on the right direction. So I will do a little bit of the lettering. Could couch something on. I wonder if I've got a thread that's a bit thicker. Or I don't mind that. Maybe I do couch it. Let's just get one strand. I don't know, I've got 20 ideas going through my mind here. Let's get a piece that's 6 strands. I want it fine. Where'd my needle get to? Oh my goodness me. Okay. Needle missing in action. Anyway, moving along. I'm going to couch this down. But I'm tempted to actually maybe even stop the video and see if I've got a crochet cotton that's in this taupey colour. And it'll give it more of a rope feel, but I don't want to make it too bulky, because it's a dainty little dress, so I can't get too heavy-handed with it. So maybe this is actually probably, I should have this in a hoop. Yeah, let's just slow down, girl. Pop it in a hoop. Let's do it right. We can always undo it and change if we don't think it's going to be right. I'm really liking this little hoop. I've never had one this small, and it's great. I didn't get any aching in my hand. I think I've got an 8-inch hoop that I've always worked with for years, since I was a kid. And then I found an oval hoop, and I've been using that a lot. but this is just pleasant to hold. I don't know about you guys, but I'm finding that my hands tire easily. It's probably because I do a lot of embroidery, so I'm very conscious of trying to keep pressure off fingers and, you know, just take a moment to make sure my health of my hands are keeping up with my mind. It's not the easiest. Yeah, I do like that. So I might zoom in so you can see what I'm actually doing. If you've never couched before, at least you can have a little look. So I brought the thread that I'm couching up, and then I removed the needle and I've just laid it there, and using one thread from the 6, I'm using that to actually hold it into position. And couching's good for curves and especially letters. You can get quite a nice shape instead of doing a stitch. And if you do your thread that's holding it in the same colour as the piece you're couching down, it can really hide a multitude of bumps and lumps. Just take your time, get your shape. Yeah, see how you get a really pretty curl. That would have been quite a challenge to do. Yeah, I do like the colour. I'm just glancing over my hands there to that mood board we did in the blue and her little dress, and I feel like it's all, you know, working together. So I think we're on the right track. I think I will stay with this stranded cotton. If you're using this linen-y tone, the cotton colour is 640. Now, could be an old number. I've had my threads, gosh, for a long time, and I'm noticing that a lot of the numbers are being redone. They're similar, but they're slightly different. So okay, that's going to work. Couching is quick, but you do need to take your time and make sure it's exactly where you want it to be. So it can be reasonably quick when it's a straight line, but if you are doing a curve, it can be a little tedious. What happened there? Where's my thread gone? So yeah, that's going to work a treat. It'll be soft and not overpowering. We want her to have a dainty look, like it's going to look chunky enough as it is with patches of fabric everywhere. Now I feel like I've got a rhythm happening. I hope I'm on camera. Apologise if I slip in and out of shot there, but my instinct is to pull it closer to me due to my eyesight, which doesn't help you guys. I can tell you, every time I spoke to a vet or a nurse and told them, you know, what had happened so that they were up to speed, and then mentioned the remote control, they seriously thought it was a genius idea. So I hope it gets out there to poor people with pussycats stuck up in drains. If you can get your hand on a Remote control. Why have I got something jabbing me here? Is that missing needle? Oh, hang, it is too. I found the needle. There it is. My fluffy coat had picked it up. Oh my goodness, I'll be at the vet yet, getting a needle removed from my forearm. Goodness me. Yep, love it. This is going to work a treat. Might be able to get this one side done. Then we can have a play with the... I wonder if I could use a bit of lace on this as well. So find a small flower, lacy flower that could be incorporated into it. I glanced across to here. See that there? And I was like, oh, lace beads and embroidery. Honey Bear, would you like that? She's not talking at the moment. She's sitting on the carpet, just looking at me. Must be something wrong. I better take her to the vet. You'll be pleased to hear too, the other pair that are feeling a little off, Pepper and Bandit, are heaps better. It was like one morning it suddenly play was back on. Prior to that, they'd eat, have a walk, go to the toilet, just potter. You know, you could just tell they weren't themselves. And even now, they're still, you know, very cautious of their activity. They goose around a little bit and then settle back down for a rest. But they're heaps better. I barely hear them cough. Bandit's still got his big barky cough. Pepper did get it as well, but it was more of a little tiny cough, just a repetitive little cough, where Bandit was more like a human, cough, 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 and then that gag at the end because he obviously had cramped up his throat, was sort of gagging it open to get some air. But Pepper was a lot milder. So they are good. Fudge is good. He is back eating. He'd gone off his food and I thought, oh, what's wrong with him? But I think it was because Casper was missing and the routine of breakfast and dinner and snacks in between hadn't been happening because I was in and out of the drain, and random food was coming back to the garage where the boys sleep of an evening and being put down in front of Fudge to say, if you're hungry, mate, you can have it because Casper's still down the drain. So I think I'd interrupted the routine of breakfast, dinner and snacks. So therefore he wasn't coming in at his usual time, and then I'd notice it. So I think that seems to have settled. So we just got to get Casper home now because he's still at the vet. So, yeah, I'm sure it'll all work out. Because he's gone from the specialty veterinary surgery now to our general one who'll just make sure he's 100%. She unfortunately won't keep him overnight because they're not that type of surgery. So I'm hoping that I can bring him home, even if I've got to take him back to go back on a drip or something. At least I don't have to take him back to the specialists because that is like a $2,000 exercise. So that's the only thing I'm waiting on. See, that's really good. I'm happy with that. That's couched down beautifully. Now, question is, do I keep going or do I cut that off? Can really play with these scrolls. I'm thinking I'm going to be a bit fancy here. Why not? The more scrolly and delicate it looks, the better. Yep. Okay. Oh, I wonder if we could use fabric. I was just looking at some of these flowers. Might overpower it. So there's one leg of it done. Now I've just cut it off and I'm just going to stitch it down, that loose end. But if this was going onto clothing, as in wearing, you'd probably want to take your needle back through the fabric and knot it down so that it didn't go anywhere. But like Honey Bear's not even going to be playing with any children, so I'm more than happy with that little end, and it'll probably be covered in flowers anyway. So there you go. That's one side couched. I'm happy with that. So that can be homework to finish the rest of the lettering. So let's have a play now. Where's it? A container to put our project in. So the thread spares can go in. There's the colour. Okay. So I'm really loving the look of this. If I can duplicate that look. So let's get this thread down to 2 strands. We could probably even do 1 strand, but we'll see how we go. So what type of flower am I going to do? The other thing is, before we start, I have some blue beads. I also have some blue flowers. Okay, let's get in. Just thinking, guys. Tempted to bead it, you know. Let's just do a little flower and see what it looks like. Pick a spot, any spot. We'll do a lazy daisy flower. Oh, come on. What am I doing? Oh, come on. I started drifting my thoughts off to the whole Casper thing and lost my train of thought. Don't even mind just that. Just 2 little... I'm going to change my needle to a finer needle. Mind you, I think that one might have fit through those. Yep. Okay. So using the same thread, come up near it. Oh, seriously? Goodness me. I've got too many thoughts in my mind, guys. I need to calm calm day or two, let me tell you. End of financial year too in Australia is June 30. So it just feels like everyone's chasing things, you know. And then you send it all off and you stand up from your laptop and you think, oh, right, we're in control, we're back on the... And then you get an email 2 hours later or the next morning, oh, there was nothing attached, can you send it again? And it's like, seriously? I thought I did it. You know, just one of those days. I am changing my needle because I'm thinking about putting this little bead. It's like my favourite little bead. It's like a calico or muslin coloured bead, but it has a little shine about it. So I just feel like it's pretty. Now, there's 2 elements. So I'm just thinking now, where would be some lace? That lace. I wonder if I can see it in my mess here. Yeah, I can. Because there's these little flowers in it. And I'm just wondering, can I cream daisy up the flowers? Oh gosh, yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. Another thread. I think once you nut out your little combination and just do a little area, don't go too far ahead. Yeah, once you sort of get, I need another needle. Once you get your little recipe, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You've got your little elements and it's looking pretty. It's then just hit repeat. And I guess with letters, you sort of want to not clutter areas that tell the brain that it's a H. You know, if I did too much around the top and that was just a big lump of floral, you might not realise that that's the first post of a H. That'd be my only comment on it. So I'm just going to put a couple little stitches into that little daisy. Just take my time because I've got that blue thread hanging underneath and I'm getting a little excited about how this is coming together. So I'm trying to just take a chill pill and just work the piece. Multiple needles on the one go is trouble, isn't it? Just move that around a bit so we can see those 2 little, so that little lazy daisy stitches there. Let's call them leaves. They're the little soft element. Okay. So I'd be confident, if I pull that back over here, I'd be confident that I could probably even get a bigger flower on there, you know. Let's take this guy out. Probably wouldn't need many of them. So now I'm just going to trim up all the, I'll leave the camera up close so you can see, but I do apologise if it's jigging around in focusing. That's just Apple doing their thing. They think they're clever. They're not taking needle workers into consideration as we bring our scissors or our hand up in the process of working. So I've got a big guy. So I could utilise him. Oh yeah, Yeah, I like that. And then put some little blue bits and pieces around just to soften it. So let's get my thread back through. I'm going to pull that through, pop it out of the way. I'm going to tuck that little guy in there so I get the top of that letter a little more. So you can see where I'll head with this. I'll probably work a big flower into the B somewhere. I won't stitch this onto Honey Bear's dress yet, I don't think. I just sort of feel like I need to gather some elements or some prompts together before I get too caught up in the positioning of them, especially if each prompt is like this, that we have to create the element that goes onto the piece that we're working on. So it might be a case of we're halfway through or even 3/4 of the way through, and we've got a lovely little cluster in our hands of embroidered elements that can then be added to something, especially if you're unsure of what that something is. It would give you the opportunity to, I guess, to change your mind, especially if you were thinking just a panel but then decided that you wanted onto an apron, or, you know, something clever comes to mind. So I think I'm going to do a similar thing. There'll come a day where I go, right, I've got enough. I'm off and racing. I think that possibly could be the case. So that's in position. We might get a few more of those little blue elements in. So I can put that thread away for a bit. I might just do, since it's come up there, let's do a single little lazy daisy there just to build on the cluster. No, it doesn't look right. It's a different size to the previous two, and it's just not in the right spot. So let's get that back out of there and bring that needle back down a little bit. Yeah. Now it's not a small daisy stitch, it's generous. And another one there. I like that. And then I can do things like jump up here and put a little one. We'll call them little leaves, little clusters of leaves, just to build on the composition of it all. There we go, just a little hint of something. So I could probably even look at a sequin up on this shoulder of that. Yeah, see right there, I like that. So let's bring that thread up here. And he will be there, change needles. It's a bit of a trick when you've got different sized elements. You're flipping from a bead to a sequin. Did you hear that? That was a bandit cough. It's not as such a long cough now. It's just this random every so often. Heaps better. Like the first night, because they sleep outside our bedroom. in this little closed-in patio area. Oh gosh, I hardly slept a wink because he'd wake up in the middle of the night hacking or coughing. So I didn't get much sleep, and then of course you know who was down the drain. But then the second night it was less, the third hardly at all, and Pepper was pretty quiet. Okay, so I've got him in position. So we've got a little cluster building on the top there. I might just grab that lace and we'll nibble out another little flower. So that's all I will do. I will just continue to skip around this little piece. I'd say I'll need another little element just to soften it. Maybe this paler blue comes in. It's so similar, I don't think it will. No, it's not going to come in. Maybe I've got to find something, I don't know, unless I can find a bead. I just feel like I need a small little element just to slip in there and soften the piece even more. So let's get this little flower down. Or maybe it's enough. Maybe I'm over cluttering. It's finding that right piece. Slow down, girl, you've come up. Okay, start again. And I think the trick too is make sure things tuck in under another. Otherwise you've got to start building it back up because they look like they're a bit disjointed. So look at ways of just tucking things under ever so slightly. It really helps the eye to cluster everything. I don't know if that's a technical term, but it seems to look better. Okay. Yep. Happy with that. I think that's all you'd want in the blue, in the little white flower. I'm pleased I did that mood board because there's so many little ideas on the mood boards. There was something else I thought of too the other day, and I actually thought to myself I should just stitch it on the mood board quickly, then it's there. And if I want to see, look how good that sequin there looks. That's a gold. See what I mean? Little things on this will just prompt my memory. I might just do a little one up here. Maybe I could put a bit of gold. Honey Bear would like sparkle, wouldn't she? I don't know if I'd want a sequin, but I do have some soft gold beads. Maybe that's that little element I need just to lift it. I'll keep going the way I am, and then don't you not come on. There we go. So that's the start. But I sort of feel like I could put something in there, just a nestle of something. Ooh, I had those. They're too big, I think. Oh, gee. They're a bit glamorous. I wish they were smaller. It's like a little teardrop of goldness. Might be a case of I need to go through my collection of beads and bits, and there's something I've just forgotten about, because this is sort of the remnants of down the garden path. So maybe there's something that's sort of in... See, I bought these recently. I feel like I need a bit of glam. Anyway, I might... Oh, here's another container. Okay. Them. Oh, there's a flower, and there's the gold. Let's have a little look. Okay, so I think the sequin, all being beautiful, is going to be too big. I'm not convinced the work can handle that size. Yeah, it's too big. I'd rather the little blue flower. So let's put them away. This is a sequin flower, slightly smaller. I've used it so many times and it's a little beauty. Maybe a couple of those. You sort of need to see it with the light. See how it just gives that little shimmer. I wouldn't say that's the right spot for it, mind you. I think it needs to be either the top side or the bottom side, and I'm not convinced. It's like I'm adding another flower. Yeah, no, don't like those. This is the bead I was thinking, just a simple gold bead. Yeah. Let's get the thread and stitch it in. And I think it could go right in tight. I wish I had some little pearl beads that were that size. I must go back to that bead shop and I'd love just half an hour to go through and look at everything, because I'm always there with hubby and he's waiting in the car, or he's slipped into a business next door, and I just feel rushed. And beads are one of those things you really need to look closely at their colours, their size, just to make sure that it's what you actually want. There we go, just a little bit of bling on Honey Bear. I think that'll be pretty. How are we going for time? We've got time. Let's go play with a couple more. I just put one down here. It's very windy today. Something just clanged out there that shouldn't clang. Go and see what's going on. Just got my threads caught. This is what happens when you have too many needles on the go, which is not normally the case, because you just, you know, finish one task before you start another, is how it should be. Yeah. Oh, Honey Bear. I think that'll work up beautifully. Just a little cluster here. I'll build up this a little more. I might put a little bit around this bottom, but then that'd be it. I sort of want to see that movement in the H. Scallop that in, but don't do anything to it. Then get this guy, and then maybe put something down here, and a little bit up here, but let the H finish itself, get all the majority of the work this side. Yeah, and even the B, I would probably work right through the center here, like really flower that up, especially if this side is quite sparse. We really chunk this up through here, and then let the B come through and maybe a slight little bit down the bottom here so that you see this curl. To me, that's what I think I would be doing. But time will tell. I'll start working on this little one, and then it can go on Honey Bear's dress as a pocket when we're ready. And we've still got this side, the second pocket, that potentially something could be added. I might even think about putting some little patches of fabric in there. So go back to the linens and cut out some little scrappy bits and just stitch a few little patches so that when it attaches to the dress, there's bits that might be hanging off of it. I don't know, it's just a thought, but it's got potential to play with a bit of fabric with this one. All right, guys, I think that's it. That gives me plenty to do. I will see you all in the next video. All right, bye for now.